Well, welcome to the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast. I'm Jimmy Page. This is the format called Freedom Under Fire, the top 3 headlines you need to know about. Each Freedom Under Fire segment does 3 things. Number 1, it keeps you on top of the most important issues affecting your freedom. Number 2, it lets you know why it matters. And number 3, it tells you what you can do about it. So here we go. Here are the top 3 headlines for the week ending April 21st, 2023. Headline number 1. Washington State House approves bill authorizing hiding of children who are seeking transgender medical intervention away from their parents. So what's happening? Well, the Washington State House approved a bill that would authorize state agencies to hide children seeking transgender medical intervention from their parents. Wow. Well, House lawmakers debated Senate Bill 5599. Which creates an exemption for the state that grants it the right to not be required to notify parents of minors who have left their homes because their parents wouldn't let them pursue gender transition medical procedures. In other words, the kids and parents had a disagreement about whether it's healthy and right and good for their children to pursue permanent gender transitioning as minors. Well, in a video statement after the vote, one of the representatives, Chris Corey, said the bill, quote, erodes parental rights in the state of Washington. Essentially, what the bill would do would be if a child left a parent's home for certain medical care and went to a shelter or a host family, that shelter or host family would not be required to notify the parents of their child's whereabouts. This is obviously a fundamental violation of parental rights and something that's deeply concerning for parents across Washington State. Wow. Can you imagine? First of all, it's a tough day if your child decides to leave your house and not let you know where they're going. But then for the state to make it lawful for an organization or a host family to not even have to let you know where your child is really quite stunning, isn't it? The crux of this debate over the bill was whether the state be allowed to essentially hide where the child is. Well, most parents would go to the ends of the earth to find their child if they disappeared after an argument. And the fact that we have a bill that may become law that would say, hey, we're not going to tell you, is just really troubling. Corey told the Epoch Times that under the bill, a disagreement between a child and parents over the child's desire for a medical transition constitutes, quote, abuse and neglect, only because the parent hasn't properly affirmed what the child wants. Well, you know what? It's not the parent's responsibility to affirm everything that a child wants. In fact, that's not parenting at all. I don't know what that is, but it certainly isn't parenting. Parents are there to help their children make wise decisions and to help them see the bigger picture and make decisions for their not only their short-term good, but for their long-term good as well. Corey said that there are already laws in place that protect children from abuse and neglect in the state, and they require solid and compelling reasons why children would need to be removed from their homes. What's frustrating is even in those cases, the parents still have a right to know where their kids are after they've been removed. In this case, under this new law, parents will have no idea where their kids are. Well, the Supreme Court has multiple times ruled in favor of parental rights. And the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment gives parents the right to parent through the education and rearing of their children as they see fit. Well, why does this matter? Here's why it matters to me. The fact that the state, the government, prevents parents from knowing where their kids are is truly stunning. The state can essentially take possession of your kids and then hide them from you as they embark on permanent gender transitions. Parents and their kids disagree about things throughout the teenage years. As a parent who had 4 teenagers, I know this very well. It's part of the developmental process. But for parents to now have to worry about their kid running away and being hidden from them as they pursue gender transition without their consent is absolutely wrong. Ultimately, this is about an authoritarian takeover where the government has authority that supersedes parents in the upbringing of their children, and where kids have authority over their parents as well. This does happen in every single communist country, like North Korea, and China, like World War II Germany. And now it's happening here in America. Well, what can we do about it? Well, number one, we need to pray. This is a battle between God's design and government control. It's also a war against the biblical family, and we have to use spiritual weapons of prayer to get breakthrough. Number two, move. Now, this is a really tough thing to wrap your brain around, that the full assault on your kids and family in a particular state like Washington may make it necessary for you to leave these radical anti-family, anti-parent states. But that may need to be an option to protect your family. And number three, pull your kids from state-run public schools because there is a heavy indoctrination, there is propaganda, and there's confusion being forced into every classroom that divides kids and parents. Here's headline number two: how the U.S. is subsidizing high-risk homebuyers at the cost of those with good credit. Wow, this is really interesting. Biden has a plan for home loan socialism. Joe Biden and this administration is set to roll out a plan that will punish Americans with good credit by forcing them to subsidize home loans for those who borrow with poor credit. A little noticed revamp of federal rules on mortgage fees will offer discounted rates for home buyers with riskier credit backgrounds, and at the same time force higher credit home buyers to foot the bill. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will enact these changes on May 1st that will affect mortgages originating at private banks across the country. Well, why does this matter? Well, here's why it matters to me. This is blatant wealth redistribution, aka socialism. Some would call it theft. I certainly would call this theft, all in the name of equity. This is not America. It's not capitalism, and it penalizes people for success and good decision making. Equity is a warm and fuzzy term meaning, quote, we ensure that everyone has the same outcome. In other words, it's an outgrowth of the everybody is a winner and everybody gets a trophy nonsense. We are reaping what we've been sowing for 30 years. It's the exact opposite of a meritocracy, where you have equal opportunities and what you make of it is up to you. Capitalism offers incentives for excellence, problem solving, and productivity. It rewards hard work, it rewards sacrifice, and it rewards creativity. What we're finding here with this policy is Marxism. It punishes high achievement and productivity, and it rewards bad behavior. Ultimately, this ends in full-blown socialism. So what can we do? Number one, I know most of us have completely lost confidence in our elected officials, and that's understandable. But in this case, we have to let them know that we are opposed to this nonsense. That may be the only thing that we can do about it. Okay, here's headline number three. Walmart closing 4 Chicago stores and blaming millions in annual losses. Walmart announced last week that it's closing 4 of its Chicago stores because they're part of a group of locations that, quote, lose tens of millions of dollars a year. The simplest explanation is that collectively, their Chicago stores have not been profitable since they opened the first one nearly 17 years ago. In fact, these stores lose tens of millions of dollars a year, and their annual losses nearly doubled in just the last 5 years. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because this is part of a much larger trend in which businesses that are wildly successful overall are abandoning cities that are creating conditions where they can't operate safely or profitably. What Walmart is not saying publicly is that theft, lawlessness, looting, and unsafe conditions caused by radical progressive policies to demonize and defund the police and refusal to prosecute criminals in the name of social justice equity is the root cause of business failure in these blue cities. Progressive policies always destroy communities. Their track record is flawless. It's crystal clear. The narrative will be that this move is racist, of course, and will be used to stoke more division and unrest, but do not buy it. So what can we do about it? Well, unfortunately, not much, except use it as a conversation starter to expose the root causes of these business decisions and link them back to the progressive policies that lead to chaos and crime and business failure. We have a civil war raging right now between conservative capitalism, law and order, and communism and chaos. Freedom is under fire every day, and now is the time to stand up and protect our liberties wherever they're under attack. I'm Jimmy Page, and this is the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast, Freedom Under Fire.